introduce our speaker. And I'm going to have to tell you, we have good connections with the city and with the mayor's office. We've had each other on speed dial. And he's usually kind of on our circuit. Every year we like the mayor to come in and talk to us about what's happening in the city of Bremerton. And now is just the perfect time to hear from him, because there have been so many things that he and the city have been working on this past year that are really coming to fruition. He'll tell us what's on the landscape. But it was Josh Farley who was going to be with us today. I was so excited. How many of you know who Josh Farley is? Yeah. Kitsap Sun reporter. He called me up one day and he said, "What's going on with that East Side employment, whatever it was?" And I said, Josh, I don't know. I think I'll call the mayor. And so it was perfect timing. We bring in Mayor Wheeler in to tell you all about what's happening in Bremerton. So with that, Mayor.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Denise. Well, good to see everybody. It's wonderful. I will share with you that I received my first business card in 16 months. So David Ems, you are the winner. Yeah. So, but it was actually very nice to receive a business card. So I have a lot to share with you. I'll welcome questions afterwards, and because I'm sure I'm going to miss something, and we'll get right to the first slide. Ruben, am I okay right here? Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just talk briefly about the 303 corridor study. Denise and the chamber were heavily involved in that. I appreciate all they did.
It was fun.
Providing a nice business perspective, and because we need that. And so next slide, please. So we've completed the study, and so a lot of folks will say, "What next?" And I'm one of those. And so right now you can see there's a list of a couple things there. Now the next page will go into more detail. Intelligent signal technology. You'll notice when you go through East Bremerton right now and you're trying to get somewhere, you notice you're stopping at 10 lights. So that's because we have 10 different systems that do not talk to each other. They're each independent of each other. So the first goal is to get that updated where they do talk to each other. And so we can adjust them based on traffic volumes, times of day, where we can accommodate our citizens much better. You'll see a huge improvement. I went down to Olympia this year, was not successful in bringing home the money for that. I will be next time. And so we'll lead off with this technology to get our corridor just running a little more smoothly. And you'll see there's some other, there's 10-foot wide sidewalks just north of the Warren Avenue Bridge, other amenities, median control for the corridor north of the bridge. And the next slide will speak a little bit more about that. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this one here, if you look at the project description, this is what I'll be working on. So I said adaptive signal technology. All right, so that'll be next. And we're currently working also on the Warren Avenue Bridge. Right now, if you've ever walked that bridge, they're like 3-foot wide sidewalks. You can't even get a modern stroller on that bridge right now. And so, if you're going north, someone's coming south, someone's turning around. And so we're going to correct that. We're actually going to expand out into the 8 to 10 foot wide range for the sidewalk. It makes it more accessible for all of our citizens, those who might need a wheelchair, a walker, or a stroller. And it gives a chance also just for viewing the most beautiful country imaginable. And so that's a big one. So we're currently designing that project right there. And then you'll see more of that. Once the design is complete, I will be working on the funding for that. If you work your way down, you'll see how we're phasing in this project from this study. The one thing about when you go to Olympia and you come back with funding to do a $350,000 study, they follow up. it looks good on all of us to follow through. And so that's why you do this first, so you have a plan in place. Then the legislature goes, oh, okay, we've already paid for the study, this is an intentional plan, and so they look at our list, and then I go to Olympia, and then we're successful. And so this is, the train has up the station on this, so this, now we're going to get it done, it's just a matter of going through these steps. And, yeah, next slide. And if you just see you can see the 303 corridor plan. You can go to the website to review more. And then, of course, I can talk about, on the last list, there were several mid-block crossings that are going to make it more pedestrian friendly. There'll be sidewalk widening in that area. There'll be better lighting. There'll be some traffic lights. Actually, we're not going to add too many traffic lights. There's other features to make a safe crossing. And so that'll be coming in increments year after year. So, next slide, please. Now this, I thought it was important to update everybody here. This is part of a bigger plan, the Joint Compatibility Transportation Plan. When I first got into office, I knew we needed to partner with the Navy in a different way besides being supportive of each other, and in a almost in a, you can almost say emotional sort of way. Like, we understand, we work together, we try to share problems. This is actually solution-oriented. So this study, working through our lobbyists in Washington, D.C., we learned how to navigate through the federal channels, which included Assistant Secretary of the Navy, the Office of Economic Adjustment, Navy leadership in Washington, D.C. These are all folks that I met and my team met. And so we work with our local Navy, so I'll show you a little bit more on this. Next slide, please. And so this is just to handle, you can see the project overview. We've got old infrastructure, forecasting population growth quite a bit, traffic surges at shift changes. You can see all of this here. So it's a $750,000, a comprehensive program that will outline the problems and then the capital improvements we're going to make. And so it's actually the beginning of a construction document that sequences individual projects. It's an 18-month study. This is something I do want the chamber involved in, and they'll say, and they already are. And it's important because I'll get into that a little later, about how we manage congestion in our city and parking, especially parking downtown. This is actually, in combination with a couple other things, this solution, the beginning of the solution. So next slide, please. All right, it's just some brief overview. And please note, I can't emphasize this enough, this is a joint study between the United States Navy and the city of Bremerton. So we are both in this all the way. And so when the study findings come out, they will be separate from our own opinions and how we feel we're supposed to progress forward as individual agencies. This will be a scientific analysis that we will use as our document going forward. All right, next slide, please. It's just a project schedule to get this completed. And you can see right now we're working through we're in the June-July time frame. We've got a 4-hour meeting coming up later this week. And there's a lot of information and a whole lot of stakeholders that will be at the table to go through the findings, what we found in our research and problems and challenges. And you can see all the way through and then to the final report. It's extremely important for this room, especially, to get the business perspective. You know, we're going to need to know the needs of our community. Everybody has a different parking need, a different need for faster flow for traffic. We know all of us are different. So it'll be important to have the chamber here and other individuals weighing in. So next slide, please. That's Katie. She's the project manager, and I'll just share with you. Katie is a go-to person for the city. She's managing several large projects, impactful projects. So next slide. All right, I'm just going to share with you. This is some real data from the city of Bremerton. Some of it's going to be not good, and some of it's going to be, you'll be amazed at what's actually happened. So we've had some, just like the pandemic, Where even today, where we can do what we are doing because we are vaccinated and we're at a phase in this pandemic, while at the same time we've surpassed 600,000 American deaths in the same sense. And so there's just things that we need to navigate through, be grateful for what we have, and understanding we still have work to do as a community. So this right here, new business applications. So 2019, robust, 612 new business applications. 2020, in a pandemic, less. Okay, everybody can draw their own conclusions on this information. 2021, 213. We're on pace to do about another 500 new applications. So that doesn't, by itself, it doesn't really give you a snapshot of what may be happening. You can draw some conclusions, but obviously they're inconclusive. So I'll give you some more information. The next slide, please. This one's the one where we're talking about some real impacts. These are business closures. So in 2019, we had 543 business closures. Okay, 2020, 629. So as we know, very challenging time. And in 2021, we're on pace to exceed the 2020 closures. So we are still in a pandemic. We're just now opening up. This is businesses who finally succumbed to either pay out of pocket, ran out of resources, ran out of customers, ran out of workers. I mean, let's face it, they're all those things. So now, I just want to share with you, knowing this, I did put it into our budget, the Marketing Assistant Strategic Planning, and this is a small business development center program that's operated under Western Washington University. I'll explain a little bit more why in the next couple of slides, but this is, we need assistance. Our businesses need assistance now more than ever, professional assistance. And so, but the BIPOC meeting that Faye led, that was, we brought in an individual here, and they're going to be a big part of helping people pivot into what our futures is coming, what's coming our way. And so, I'll just let you know that at the City of Bremerton, we did continue increase the exemption for B&O tax. It was a strategic decision to propose that as my budget to the council. The council accepted it. A lot of people were panicking because at a certain time, we didn't know what was going to happen. But we also knew recovery had to be part of our survival when we were going through the early stages of this. So we kept up the exemption level increase. I put in an emergency ordinance to expand seating for restaurants out into the public right-of-ways, out into parking lots if you are in a plaza, if you're a small business owner, especially restaurants. But this essentially allowed for expansion of a footprint where people could safely still gather and under restricted conditions. I'll keep that. We're actually working on a permanent ordinance that will allow this to continue past the pandemic. I feel it's important. I feel that Bremerton has tremendous potential for outdoor dining, 3-season, even 4-season, depending on what comes. I think a lot of restaurants or a lot of other business owners, unique experiences could benefit from being able to expand outdoors in nicer months. Even Rude and his business, so many others here. So we're working on that. Those are just ways that we're able to help. And I'll show you a little bit on the next slide about where we're heading, what else is coming our way. So permit activity. You've been watching what's going on. If you'll just look at this number here, this is our latest May permit activity. These are past, and you get a trend of this is just May and what's going on in the city. So in the middle of a pandemic, because this has been a continuous line, we are exceeding past records by double. The next slide will give you a better snapshot of what's going on. So if you look at the number of permits, this is total year by year, year over year. And so this year, as of May, end of May, this is sales tax. This is essentially a snapshot of our economy in the city of Bremerton. It's in a pandemic. And this is the numbers that I had to track with the finance department daily, especially when we were first starting, as we had to keep city operations running, but also budgets. I mean, when there was such great uncertainty, we kept monitoring these numbers, and then we formed our own local microeconomic analysis, and I'll explain a little bit about it. But look at 2018, a little over 10, 2019, 10.8 million, 2020, don't be fooled by the caption that's a little lower. 2020, last year, through the pandemic, 11.2. So we exceeded our previous, these are all high water marks, by the way. So we were on an upward trend. We have been for a while. 18 was a high water mark, 19 was a high water mark, 20 benchmark, the highest we've ever done in the city in the middle of a full pandemic. Projected for this year, 11.3. Again, exceeding anything we've ever done. I will share also with you that a couple of industries that kept things going. Shipyard maintained full employment. Auto sales and construction maintained a pretty robust economy for us. The rest of it, though, but just maintaining status quo, because those are our two biggest drivers, especially auto sales. To do what we're doing now, what ended up happening is there's a number of things. This is where we're all going to form our own opinions, because the data still, there still isn't a real conclusive reason for this. We had so many folks ordering in their home. They were ordering food, they were bringing deliveries, were going to houses, shopping became online. There was no more mall visits, no more tourist activity for that type of shopping. Amazon was you probably know this, was everywhere in our city. And so when we and for those of you, we collect in the city of Bremerton, rather than you leaving the city to go dine in Silverdale, or to go shop in Silverdale, or leave to the Gig Harbor.
Take that, David Evans.
That's why we're partnered, that's why we're all in this together.
That's right. We're all in this together.
But these are folks, we have a lot of essential workers in the city. We have a new demographic that's a telecommuter in the city. It's a rapidly changing demographic. We collect sales tax here. I mean, so when you deliver, the point of destination collects it. And we have a resilient city. Workers, the essential workers that had to keep working, many of them in harm's way, they're here. They're here in Bremerton. They kept working. And so they had to continue to survive, and so the numbers reflect that. Here's another little bit of sales tax report. That's just shows another snapshot where we're outperforming our budget in 2021 by $500,000. So that's this year. So we budgeted, and we budgeted a pretty flat budget. We didn't show a decrease. We just kept it flat and conservative. We've exceeded it by $500,000 already. So next slide, please. Okay, this is something interesting I want to share with you. So I don't know how many folks yet have pivoted your businesses, and that's why I want small business assistance to help you. If it's not pivot, adjust. At City Hall, we became proficient with technology. In fact, we mastered it. We did not reduce it one service in here that we didn't provide before. And I will say the parks were, you didn't see as many features for them, but as far as police and fire and building and inspection, water and sewer, we were prepared, and we made them all continue seamlessly. I don't think anybody would have seen anything that would have alarmed them that they were in a pandemic. So now, I have folks now who work from home and telecommute. They meet people, customers and clients on the job site. So I now have probably 60 more parking spaces in the city-owned asset of the Washington Avenue Garage. And I've always had a goal, especially when I first came in, to help the small business employees, the small business owners downtown, and especially their employees with parking. I'd love to do this all over the city, but the opportunity downtown where folks are coming in, they're spilling over out of the garage into the Washington Avenue garage, who, if I bring them back in, it'd be crazy because I'd reduce efficiency and productivity, and I'd contribute to the parking glut and congestion. My goal that I'll be bringing forward is, it'll be a new standard of doing business in the city, which frees up parking. The next step is, with Denise and the Chamber and John, I just need input on this survey that I want to put out in the 1st of July. It's going to survey New American Insurance Company. Yes, Ruben, some of the other downtown businesses. I want to find out their parking needs. And so you'll get and there'll always be a spot at the bottom, if we miss something in the survey, to add your input. The goal is to create a centralized parking area dedicated to the hardworking employees of the small businesses. And I know a lot of them range from pretty predictable 9-to-5 jobs, 40 hours a week, to a shift worker at a restaurant who gets a call 10 minutes to fill a shift, and they just come downtown and they're just scrambling. So this is, I want all of these scenarios presented to us. And then we'll probably convene together once that we have the data, and thank goodness we get to meet in person. We'll convene something in the August-September timeframe to discuss it. And then I'll work with the city council also on this. So this is, you're early into this survey right now. So very important information to work with me on. All right, next slide. That's just a little bit more. And that will be Melinda Monroe and Denise in the Chamber. If you Melinda will be your point of contact for that. All right, next slide. So I want to just chat really briefly about Quincy Square. And Bremerton, in Derek's district, he's got four counties in his congressional district. He was allowed to select 10 projects. Quincy Square was right at the top. So it's a big deal. This was not me. This is a community-led effort. It was a mass amount of letter writing, support from agencies, NAACP, Bremerton Chamber, and then just individuals. And so it moved us right up to the top. We're working, now the process, their version of sausage making starts. So we're working with Representative Kilmer, Senator Marion Cantwell, and of course our federal lobbyists to bring it over the finish line. It's $2.5 million. We've already identified the funding to put this $6 million project over the top, and we hope to complete it by the end of next year, and it's going to be an exciting addition. This is another decision, when you're in a pandemic and there's uncertainty about budgets. This was one I felt personally should continue, because even in this battle we were in, we have to be thinking about emergence at the same time. It's complex rubric, in that decision-making analysis, but we kept it going, and so we had the dedicated funding. It worked out, and we will emerge better than any other city, because we kept moving forward with a whole lot of things. And so I'll believe that's the last slide, and I'll stand by for questions. Denise, if you've got a minute, I know I missed stuff.
We're going to want to hear about that. What's going on in the east side where the old Harrison Hospital is?
Yes. So they are.
That's what Josh Farley wants.
Yeah, he wanted East Side Village? Okay. We've completed that study, and so that's got some flexible zoning in it. And so there's a number of industries that could go in there. There's housing. And just so you know, and I communicate with them, the prompt care or the residency program is scheduled to become a prompt urgent care on Kitsap Way in the middle of next month. So unless something's changed, that's the schedule. Once that is fully operational, then the emergency room completely closes. It's all but closed now as a trauma center, And then, so then we have an empty building. I work with them to level that building. Okay, so that's, my goal is to have a green field there. Something there's no underground, unknown issues to mitigate. There's environmental issues with the building. And the structure itself, there's various stages of age and it's outdated, the way it was pieced together over 3 different time periods. So we have a plan in place. I went down to Olympia at the same time. I went there for the 303 study, corridor study. I also went and talked with our friends down in Olympia about redesigning this area. So it's done. It's redesigned. There's a plan of action, environmental impact statement already accomplished. So the mitigations have already been worked out. These are more uncertainties. These are huge for the next master planner and developer who will come in. And then, of course, you as business owners or residents will get the benefit from all of this pre-planning. So those are the kind of the timelines. It'll move pretty quickly. And
When are the apartments going to be done?
Yes.
How many units is Bremerton getting of new housing?
it's numbered in the thousands.
Yeah.
It's in the thousands. The soil factory, behind the soil factory, and of course behind Wilco are well underway. The Marina Square just received my latest update. It was scheduled for a grand opening in July, but materials are a challenge now. So it's tough. I mean, wood materials. I think you've all heard this by now. And so that's been pushed back towards the end of the next year. Who knows, maybe something breaks free, but right now it's just for scheduling, purposes. That's what's happening next year. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Denise, anything else? Or?
We've got a few minutes. We're going to do the raffle. But we've got a few minutes. If anybody has a question, a burning question of our mayor, doesn't even have to be burning. Simmering.
Is anybody concerned about all these people coming in as far as traffic?
Sure. That's why we did the traffic study on the corridor.
Yeah, well, on Wheaton Way, there was, if you'll notice, there was a $13 million investment in the transit center, Kitsap Transit Center. And this is designed to move people on and off the corridor. And so, in and out of Bremerton. The traffic, if we were to go back, you would see in there a bus rapid transit system that would help with the corridor. The new demographic is there's going to be a lot of tech base to it. It'll be telecommuting, it'll be employment options, employment, healthcare, education. All of those can be conducted now virtually, shopping. So now the feature is having areas where Amazon and other delivery services can move in and out. And so this whole idea of how we manage traffic volumes changes. I mean, it's and parking. And so there's just a lot to that. So to answer that question,
I think Ruben Wilkins has a question.
Just Ruben.
So I've been riding, like I said, I've been riding my bike more around the city.
Yes.
One thing I've noticed that we don't have a lot of bike area. We don't have, our biking, since I live on 6th Street, on 5th Street, I take 6th Street. There's no bike routes, there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? So are we is that going to be part of the 303 quarter, upgrade to start getting us, because I know biking should be,
The Bicycle Coalition, I know, is on that.
Yeah, there is, in there, you'll see, there's facilities that we call transportation facilities, and you'll see it in that corridor study where those will be installed. Downtown, we do have a bicycle circulation plan though. So if you're just downtown here, we're going to set up a place where you can lock up your bike. Those are important.
yeah, I don't lock my bike up.
I know you did. I know. Yeah.
I think John has a question.
How about the gorse corridor? I've heard
Yeah.
rumor that the city of Bremerton's working on that.
Yes, thank you, John. So the city was called into service by a small group led by Congressman Kilmer to be a fiduciary and to take a leadership role in fixing gorse. And so it's been a lot of work, a lot of meetings. We just secured $8 million from the federal government to do some feasibility, some options study, just with broad concepts, kind of explore broad concepts and see what might be the best way to move forward. That's another one where the train's left the station. This is the most powerful coalition I think I've ever seen it. Denise has been involved. Faye's been in on it. She's been with me. We've lobbied legislators all across the state, over 30 meetings, convincing people to invest in this project. And so it made the list, and now it's a matter of funding projects.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Ivan?
Yes. You mentioned that you also passed an emergency proclamation to put a higher, for the B&O tax. What is the new rate that is exempt?
So we're getting up into the 200, and that was an emergency. That was maintaining, rather than kind of slowing down and trying to consolidate, making sure we kept taxes for unforeseen circumstances. We kept it going. So it's up to 260 now. First 260. I'd like to see it go faster. Important year this year in our city. There's certain things that I think we will see a return, especially with small business who are struggling. Most of them would invest in their own business if they could. It's how businesses stay solvent is they do need to grow. Some in the smaller pace, some faster. Get this one.
Yes, one more question.
So a lot of private sector businesses have embraced the work from home or quasi. How has the city dealt with that during the pandemic? And are you going to bring workers back into the office, or are you embracing
That's where all the parking spots are coming from.
Right. I'm embracing the technology, and so we will Zoom meetings. My office up at City Hall is now going to be Zoom room. And so it'll be a combination of where I can sit around a table with directors at the same time. We can Zoom in from across the globe, and somebody can join our meeting. And they can see all of us sitting there. We can see the individuals. I mean, so the range of options is endless. I don't foresee, and I can assure you, we won't come back to the old model. So we will continue with this. There's so many benefits that go into child care and elder care and folks who've adapted to a new life, this pandemic life, and and we're getting more productivity than we ever have. At the same time, families are happier. There's a win-win when you're talking about children and elders, and there's quite a bit to this. So, yeah, it's a recruiting tool. We'll be successful. The talent out there is we have to compete for it. And so, but anyhow, Denise,
Thank you.
turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, let's give him lots of applause here.